Hi, welcome back, you all. Thank you for joining me. This here is Love, Strength, and Love. I am Shiovanda Marie, and today I have another special guest, and I'm going to go ahead and let you introduce yourself.
Good evening. My name is Gary Robert Lawson.
All right, Mr. Larson, are you ready to talk about this? There's a lot. It's like a lot of different information that I think our viewers really need to hear. Like some of them don't really understand. It's really important to use your voice, but it actually use your voice in a positive way, like to send out the message, make people actually really want to hear what you're saying. Okay. So we're pretty much just talking about no more lost voices. And that's because there have been too many lives that has been lost, too many stories that has not been told. And it's just the thing of no more silence. Let's open up. Let's allow ourselves to stand together, allow us to educate our youth as well as heal the pain that we have been going through as a community. Do something different, allow us to turn our pain into purpose. So I'm gonna go ahead and ask you a couple questions. Well,
Okay.
not a couple questions because I like to get in deep
Okay.
into
Okay.
it.
Okay. First, let me caveat by saying I'm not an expert in any way.
Okay, that's fine.
No More Lost Voices, though, is a interesting topic.
Okay,
And, when I think about No More Lost Voices, I think about a lot of things,
okay,
because I think about mental health.
yeah.
That's a key one for me because my second oldest son actually passed away in July
Oh,
25th, 2023. And
oh
he
my
was suffering with
condolences.
mental health issues. And so, I think about one thing that really comes to mind is he actually was suffering from schizophrenia
Mm.
uh, and was attempting to drive a U-Haul truck with all of his belongings from Tampa, Florida to Philadelphia.
Okay.
And he was struggling and going through those issues. And I actually flew down to Tampa to
Mm.
be with him, not knowing that he was already had this plan that he was
Okay.
going to drive to Philadelphia.
Right.
He was in crisis at the time, and I knew he
Mm.
was in crisis, but I couldn't intervene. I couldn't intervene. I couldn't talk him out of it. And what you got to understand is they still have rights.
Yes.
They have rights and they have
Yes.
protections. And I did try to talk him out of it, but he had convinced himself in his mind that he was going to do this.
Right.
And I remember that Monday I was actually flying to Vegas to see my oldest son because he had just dealt with kidney cancer and had to have a
Mm.
kidney removed. And so I was wanting to go see both of them because I hadn't seen them in a while.
Right.
And I remember leaving the hotel. We stayed in the same hotel the night before I flew out to Tampa. And I remember hugging my son and watching him as he walked away and thinking
Right.
to myself, I may never see my son alive again.
Mm.
But what I was going to get around to is he actually wound up getting arrested en route from Tampa to Philadelphia. He stopped in Columbia, South Carolina,
Okay.
because he was familiar with that area because I was in the military for 20 years and
Okay.
I was a drill instructor Fort Jackson, and so he
Okay.
knew that area. So I guess he thought that was a safe area for him to stop and rest en route.
Right.
And so he parked his U-Haul truck in a 7-Eleven or something. And I guess they were telling him to move his truck. And
Right.
he refused to, and he was going through going
That
through this
is
crisis. And when they're
right.
in this crisis, they're kind of, they can be aggressive,
Right.
And so I guess the police came and, they arrested him
Mm.
and charged him with trespassing and resisting arrest. And
Wow.
so, and with him being locked up, I guess he uh, trying to think of what it was. They said he had E. coli. He got E. coli
Okay.
in the jail while he
Mm.
was locked up in the jail. He got E. coli,
Right.
and they say that he passed away. And they said
Wow.
that they found him unresponsive in the cell, and
Wow.
told me that en route to the hospital he had a seizure. And then he passed away. And so
Wow.
they called me that morning. That was my first morning back at work. I'll never forget it. I was a principal with Milwaukee Public School.
Mm.
And that
Mm.
was July 25th. And that was my first day back from our little, 30-day summer break that we got as principals. And
Right.
sitting in my office and got a call at 7:30 that morning. And, sheriff called and said, "Hey, are you Mr. Lawson?" I said, "I am." They said, "Well, we have some news about your son," but they wouldn't tell me. And I was like, has my son passed? And they was like, "Well, we can't give you that information, Mr. Lawson. Somebody would have to call you and tell you." And I said, "Just let me know, just tell me."
Right.
And so they just told me that my son had passed. But when I think about silent voices, no more silent voices, I think about those uh, that I'm suffering from mental health issues.
Right. And I just want to give a shout out, Ebony with let me see, Motivational Minds. Okay, you all. She actually made my shirt, and I just want to give a shout out to it. And for some reason, I just actually knew that mental health is a big part of a lot of things that's actually going on in our community. Nobody really wants to admit or hold themselves accountable and get the help that they really need, which is so important. And I'm glad that you actually shared that story, because a lot of people need to understand that it's not just them that is going through the pain, but it's also their family members, it's their
Yes.
friends, it's their
Yes.
coworkers. It's a lot of us that goes through the pain with us, even when we're not directly there.
Yeah.
Right. So that was so that right there was so it was so touching. I
And,
just want to say that first off.
it's interesting because I didn't even notice your T-shirt. I didn't, but it's funny that I started talking about mental health first,
Yes.
not noticing your T-shirt. But what I was going to say, and when saying all of that, there was a nurse at the jail
Okay.
and named Miss Green, and
Mm.
I was able to speak to her a couple times. Checking in on my son. I was trying to get down there to him, and she was like, "Mr. Lawson, I'm gonna tell you something. About 90% of the people here in the jail are suffering from some type of mental health."
Right.
And so that's what we do with them now. We lock them up.
Yeah.
No, we talk about those silent voices.
Yes.
People suffering with mental health issues
Yes.
are, a big population of those silent voices.
Yes. And that was actually the first question. What did you actually think of personally when it meant, or when we talk about no more lost voices?
Yeah.
The second one is actually the gun violence, right?
Yes.
How have gun violence actually affected our community, or even kind of affect your way on actually viewing love for the community?
Yeah. So I will start with a personal story when it comes to gun violence. My eldest niece, my older brother's daughter,
Okay.
Nikki Lawson. Uh, we call her Nikki, but her first name is
Okay.
Sonia Collins. Uh, and she was murdered in
Mm.
2019 by
Wow.
a young man, 21 years old. Uh, my niece's daughter, my great niece, Brianna, and this young man, were a couple going together, and a lot of friction in the relationship, a lot of I don't want to say physical violence because I don't know about the physical violence, but I
Right.
know a lot of verbal stuff was going on, and I guess they were into it. uh, and he wound up following her over to my niece's house, and
Wow.
they got into a physical altercation, and my niece came out, to kind of break it up and to just protect, her daughter.
Right.
And her and the young man got into it. You know, young man went back to his car, got a gun, came back, shot her in the chest,
Wow.
basically killing her instantly. Uh, shot shot at my great niece and hit her with a round, and
Wow.
shot at my great niece's friend, shot her also. So he shot three women that night. And the part that got me was he drove off. I think he had two young men in the car with him. He drove off. Now, by this time, my niece's son was in the house, and my other niece was in the house, who were both minors. This
Right.
young man came, drove back, and shot rounds into the house, I guess hoping to hit them before he drove off. And he was in hiding for, I think, maybe 3 weeks before the police finally, caught up with him.
So they did catch up
They
with him.
did catch up with him.
Yeah.
They did.
So
Eventually,
that
they
is just the craziest thing ever. Like, it's so many people that their emotions just take over, and they don't even stop and just think about what's gonna happen next?
Yeah.
Who is it gonna affect? They
Yeah.
don't have, it's like they don't have no care in the world. And it's really messed up because again, the younger kids are actually watching this. And that's what they're thinking. Well, I'm gonna go get me a gun. And that's like now, and I hear it so much in the community, like the guns. That's my first go-to now. And it's like, why?
Yeah.
Why? What happened to us? Let's having a conversation, or just walking away from each other. Okay, that's cool. That's how you feel. Well, you go your way and I'm gonna go mine. But it's been way too long. This cycle has been going on way too long. It's the emotional issues or the mental health problems that people are going through, and they're just killing one another.
And so when I think about gun violence and I think about our youth, just buried one of my former students, 11 years old, just buried one of my former students about 3 weeks ago. And at the funeral itself, the thought that came to mind to me was, so he played football. They called him Mister, and just in his whole football team that he played football, on one of the youth teams. And from what I understand, he was really good. But
Right.
all of his teammates came with their jerseys on, and I just
Oh,
sat there and I just looked at all of these young boys sitting there, and I was like, has this become the norm? You
right.
know,
Exactly.
has this become the norm? And so that's something that I'm really passionate about. And I know we're going to talk about Black men organizing, but when I first went to the first meeting and they were asking people what they were really interested in, supporting or getting involved in,
Right.
for me, I put down gun violence.
Mm.
It wasn't one of the issues that we that the leadership wound up choosing as one of the issues that we were going to address. But
Right.
for me, that was a real issue because, you know, you hear about 11-year-olds, 13-year-olds, 15-year-olds, just all these young kids. Even as a principal with MPS, I can tell you I probably had 4 or 5 of my students, young kids, you
Right.
know, uh, die by gun violence. And so my question is, how are these young kids getting a hold of these guns?
Yes.
And it's something that nobody seems like they want to discuss. Nobody wants to talk about. What are we doing to, curb this violence and these
Right.
young kids getting these guns?
So what do you think of why do you think no one wants to address that issue, or when nobody want to get down to it so that we can actually kind of like do something different so it's not so easy for them to actually get it
Oh,
or get them.
you know what? I don't have the answer. I was talking with a group of people and they talked about the money in gun sales and,
Mm,
people making money off of selling guns. And it's hard for me to believe that, you would value money over a child's life
life,
like that.
yes.
It's just something that I just can't comprehend. Uh, I don't know, I don't know the answer, but I know it's something that we need to really take a look at. I mean, uh, every gun that is used in the commission of a crime, there should be some type of investigative journalism going
Yes.
on that can tell us, where this handgun came from. I've
Right.
had people tell me, oh, they're, what do they call them when they're making them on the computers? These computer generated guns, and they're stealing them all, but that's not where they're all coming from.
Mm,
I'm just not convinced that that's the truth.
right.
Yeah.
So how does that affect you emotionally? And then how do you think it leaves an impact on the families that goes through
it's,
this?
it's, it's a hurting feeling. I mean, like I said, I dealt with it myself. And so when we talk about no more silent voices, uh, that's a big thing. I mean, our children feel like
Right.
they need to have these guns. I
Right.
mean, my parents basically, as a child, especially at that age, my parents knew everywhere we were at and what we were
Yep.
doing most of the time. And now these kids, a lot of them are just lost. They seem like they're
Right.
just lost and they're being allowed to do so many things and just, get out and wander the streets and get involved in things that at my age you would have never heard of. And
Right.
so they're crying, but it's a cry, it's a silent cry for
Yes.
help. It
Yes.
is, it's a
It
cry,
really
silent
is.
cry for help from our community and from our children. It
Right.
really is.
So how do you think we can begin to heal from the different type of trauma that comes with so many lives that's lost? like so many people, it's just the not even just the gun violence, but us actually just hurting one another, or us just allowing ourselves to not care about our own self, and then it just caused us to have so much trauma. Like, what do you think we can do to kind of like heal that or walk through it?
Well, that's the $1 million question. Uh, I feel like we need a lot more services in our community. I feel like we need more black men. We need more fathers in our community.
Right.
The breakdown of the family is a big one. Uh, and I go back to talking about my time with Milwaukee Public Schools as a special education teacher, as an assistant principal, and as a principal, and just being so observant and seeing most of the families coming into the school building and not seeing men with the
Right.
mothers, seeing the mothers coming in with the kids,
Yes.
uh, throughout the day, parents coming in and they're women. At the end of the day, picking up the children, it's the women.
Right.
It's not a lot of men that are stepping up and even being there for their children. And
Right.
that's a big issue. But the social services that we need, a lot of mental health programs in our community, a lot of mental health programs in our schools,
Yes.
a lot of mental health programs at work.
Yes.
It's just needed all over.
All over.
It is. We have a lot of people that are struggling
Right.
with a lot of mental health issues, and we don't have enough resources
Right.
in the community to help deal with all of those, people in crisis.
Right. So how can we find the struggle, the strength through this struggle? Like, what is your opinion or your take on that?
So I
I
would
know,
say
I'm
that
sorry. I know
no,
you
no,
got the Black Man organization
yes,
group, and I just
yes,
want to give a shout out to y'all. It is so amazing to just see so many Black men to actually stand up into their or in their community and say, "Hey, we got to do something. We're needing to make a change, and it starts with us."
yeah, and so we're really just introducing ourselves to the community.
Right.
We're stepping out now. We have three overall committees that we have with the Black Men Organizer. We have the financial literacy piece
Okay.
committee. We have the men's health, and
Hmm.
then we have the youth and education committee. And so, we're recruiting right now.
Right.
Uh, Black men, Black Latino. Uh, we're not white, whatever we can
Right.
do that really are concerned about making a change and making a difference in our community. We had our annual meeting yesterday, and we had a pretty good showing of men. And so we're trying to get that commitment from men,
Right.
so we can make a difference,
Right.
so that
And
we can get out in the community. It's almost like they say in the church, you got to get outside the walls of the church. We
yes.
got to get outside. We got to get out in the community,
Yes.
and we got to start touching lives and making differences. And we're really focusing on these young Black men
Mm-hmm.
and these boys. So we have the Running Rebels organization that are
Right.
part of it. So we've got some powerful people,
Yes.
with us and helping us through this thing. But we're looking to grow, and we're looking to make a change and an impact in the community.
And I really feel like y'all will. It's just because y'all took that step to say, hey, we're going to come together, and when people usually take steps, it's challenges, always going to be challenges. But at the end of the day, if y'all committed and y'all really want and believe this is going to make a difference, it definitely will.
Right,
It
right.
definitely will. So again, I'm excited to see y'all actually grow because I'm definitely gonna be watching. Like,
Okay.
like I like to see those powerful men. My father was a powerful man. He actually, I'm not gonna say was, he is because he's still here and he's
Okay.
still living. I didn't have uncles and then showed us different type of things, but my father has always been that type of man to say, I'm gonna make sure I'm here in my kids' life. And that really took a lot of courage and wisdom, especially with what I seen him go through.
Yeah.
It was just I thank you, Pops. Really do, because, and I really am going to tap into him and ask him to come join you guys, because I really believe that he can help make a difference as well.
Okay. I think back and I think about my dad. My dad's 86, and
Oh,
they were those silent like type voice type of people
yes,
too, right? Like
yes.
I don't remember my dad. I don't know if my dad ever told me that he loved me until I was in the military. I did 20 years
Oh,
in the army,
right.
and I don't remember as a kid growing up ever remembering my dad tell me that he loved me, but he showed us.
All the
He
time.
showed us through his actions.
Yeah.
He kept a roof over our head.
Hmm.
Food in our stomach, clothes on our back. And his actions spoke loud and clear. Although
Right.
his voice was silent in a lot of areas. His actions spoke loud and clear. And so he showed me and my three brothers how to be a man, how to be
Right.
men. But their fathers didn't tell them that they loved them, and
Right.
so it's kind of like you carry that on,
Yeah.
because you do what you're taught or what you
Exactly.
learn. You
Yep.
do what you learn, and so we've kind of broken out of that, and now we tell each other we love each other. I tell my children that I love them,
Right.
and so it's all about speaking out, and
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So do you think that that is a thing where just because they didn't tell you guys, but they showed you? Well, actually, I'm gonna say all of us, because my dad he showed us more than he told us as
Hmm.
well. Do
Hmm.
you think that that's a big thing with the youth nowadays? Is it? Do would? Oh.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think our youth probably don't hear I love you enough.
Right.
Tell my students I love you,
Right.
and sometimes they would look at me like, and I knew that, maybe nobody told them that they love them today, or maybe they don't hear it as much as they need to hear it,
Right.
but they do need to know, they do need to hear that I love you,
Right.
uh, mothers, and I've had this debate with so many people so many different times because like whenever there's an issue in the school where I was a part of, they would always talk about, oh, this mother this mother that, this mother
Right.
this mother that, and I would say, where's the father?
Right.
you know
Right.
where's the father at?
Right.
We want to put everything on the mother, but where's the father at? The
Yes.
father has some responsibility in this
Yes, they
thing.
do.
The father has some responsibility. Men need to step up.
Yes.
Nobody should be raising your child but you.
Right.
That's your responsibility, and I
Yes.
don't accept any excuse. Oh, the mother won't let me know. You go to court,
Mm,
you
mm,
get
mm.
your parental rights,
Yes.
and you be in your child's life.
Right. So when it comes down, I totally agree with you on that one, because it's a lot of men, and it's a lot of women that's like, I don't want you in my kid's life, and the men like, okay, but what about those ones that we need them to say,
Hmm.
I don't care what you're saying,
Hmm.
my child needs me.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
a lot of them is like, oh well, you don't want me here, I'm not gonna
Hmm.
be here. But it's not
Hmm.
about that woman, it's about that child
Hmm.
at the end of the day. How do you think that we can use compassion as a tool to fight against the gun violence?
Oh, and I think it goes back to what I was talking about before, and what we're trying to do with Black Men Organizing, communication,
Right,
communicating with our young men, our young Black boys, letting them know that you love them,
right,
not being afraid of them, getting to know them, their needs and what they need,
right,
to be successful, making them feel loved and making them feel important and valued.
right.
you know uh Compassion is something that is big for me,
Mm.
and so when you see me, that's what you see. You see a man, you
Right.
see a man of compassion,
Right.
compassion and love, and that's what I live by.
Mm, mm, mm.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
We have to, and I want to say this, it's funny, but that's one of the things that I always talked about with my staff, is having compassion for our children. Because one year, and I think it was when COVID hit, and we started, me and my team, leadership team, got together, and we looked talked about what we wanted to do for PD, professional development.
Okay.
And we decided that we wanted to focus on courageous conversations about race,
Okay.
right? And with the goal of examining our biases, right? I know the majority of teachers in MPS are white females.
Okay.
The majority of the teachers at my school were white females.
Mm.
And so along with that comes biases.
Yes.
But not only from them, but from us also.
Yes.
And I had that same bias because my mother and father, neither one of them graduated from high school. My mom was basically a stay-at-home mom, and my dad was a laborer, right?
Right.
But the goal for me and my three brothers was we were going to graduate high school. We were going to graduate high school, and we were going to go into the labor force, right? And so there were no excuses for school. You know, you were going to go to school, you're going to sit down, you're going to be quiet, you're going to listen to the teacher, and you were going to learn. And
right.
that was it, right?
Right.
And so when I came into teaching, I had that same mentality.
Mm-hmm.
When you walk into the school building, you're going to come into the school building, you're going to sit down, you're going to be quiet, and you're going to learn.
Right.
But the times were different.
Yes.
From when I went to school. These students now, these children now, these babies now are dealing with a lot of things that we didn't have to deal with.
Yes.
The fatherless home.
Yes.
You know, economic disadvantage. You know, all those type of things. And so I had to learn how to check my bias.
Right.
You know, and I had to tell myself, I need to meet this child's needs before I can talk about teaching them.
Right.
Right. Maslow's hierarchy of needs start with meeting those basic needs and then leveling up, right?
Right.
To self-actualization. But you got to start at the bottom. And if you're not meeting that baby's basic needs of food, shelter, love, if you're not meeting those basic needs, that child's not going to reach their full potential, right?
Exactly.
And so I had to check my biases. And so now my thing was, you know, those children that are struggling, I need to get to learn, get to know them. I need to get to find out what's going on with them so that I can try to support them to whatever means necessary, that whatever resources we have in the school. So maybe we can get past that part and we can start loving on this baby and get this baby to start growing and learning, you know, and meeting their potential.
So I want to ask you this, because a lot of people just be like, those kids are bad. And it's like, those kids are bad, but are they really bad?
Crying for they're crying for help.
And that's that silence. And they're not using their voices. They're just acting out.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So what strength have you discovered in yourself or in your community that we can actually use when these different type of traumas come up?
Yeah. It's a great question. Banding together.
Okay.
Us banding together,
Mm-hmm.
you know, was something that was said yesterday at a Black Man Organized meeting. You can go, did it say you can go fast alone or you can go further together?
Right.
So as a people, we can go further. You know, you can do it by yourself. You can go fast by yourself, but by yourself, you know, you're going to get weighed out. As Pastor Lanier said, you're going to get picked off, right? You're going to get picked off. You go in there by yourself. But he's like he said, if you go with 2 or 3, you know, you're powerful. But if you go with 15 to 20, you're even more powerful, right? Yep. So we need to band together as a community. And I was thinking yesterday where we're sitting there. So we're Black Men Organizing, but there's a lot of other organizations in the city that are doing great work, that are doing good work. And I was thinking, what if we all banded? What if we could all band together?
Right.
Think of the changes that we could make. You know, one of the gentlemen there last night, I think he's with 414 Milwaukee or something like that. I might be getting it wrong, but he's talking about getting brothers to get out in the streets in some of these communities and start talking to these, you know, these young men. Right. You know, start building connections and bonds with these young men and the difference that we could make, you know, but we got to be willing to get out there and do that. Right. You know, got to get out there in the community and talk to these young men.
So do you think that a lot of people don't want to get out there in a community because they're afraid of the community?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. A lot of them are afraid. I mean, I even catch myself sometime. Like and I spoke about this. There was a time when maybe I might be out cleaning my car, might be doing something inside my car door open. I see a group of young men,
Mm-hmm.
teenagers or whatever walking up, and I wouldn't even give them a second thought. I might speak to them or whatever, and they going about their way. But now, in a situation like that, I got my antennas up. I'm
Right,
watching them.
right, right.
So yeah, there is a level of I don't know if I want to say fear, but it may be fear,
Right.
apprehension, you know, just that antennas going up and being aware of your surroundings because young men are out here and they're doing things now,
Yes. Yes.
and why? I
Hmm.
think that uh, they're looking for recognition, they're looking for belonging, and they're
Right.
finding that with other young men where there really should be fathers stepping in to do that. There should be
Yes.
black men stepping in to show them the right way,
Right.
Yeah,
Because that's a big issue.
yeah.
It's a real big issue. So, how do you think we can teach the youth to value their lives and walk through love instead of fear?
Through education. Education is a big piece to that. I remember I was one of those guys, I'm just going to be open and
Right,
transparent,
right,
right? I'm going to
right.
be open and transparent right now. I started smoking marijuana in like the seventh or eighth grade.
Okay.
Going down to me and a couple of my guys going over to the liquor store, putting our chains together, little wino hanging out outside. We give him a couple of dimes or whatever and have him going and buy us a bottle of wine. And we,
Right.
hanging out,
Hmm.
just doing the wrong things,
Right.
just, and remember how I was raised and what my mother and father had told me. So
Right.
even a lot of times, either even having the father in the house showing you the right way, you
Right.
can get out in the streets and you can, that peer pressure is
Yep.
something else, right?
Like with the wrong
And
one.
so, but what happened with me was this: because of my dad being present in my life, when I got to high school, hanging out with those same guys, right?
Uh-huh.
And I just said to myself one day, man, if I continue down this path,
Mm.
and I had the insight to think this, or the
Mm.
foresight to think, I said, if I continue to do what I'm doing right now, what's my life going to be like when I'm 40 years
Mm.
old? And I had a teacher. I went to Rufus King, Miss Connie. I was skipping school and all that, and she pulled me to the side. She said, "Gary, you know what? You are so smart, white female.
Right.
You are so smart. You have so much potential." And I don't know if anybody had ever told me that before.
Oh.
I don't know if anybody had ever told me that before. And gentleman, yesterday that was part of Black Men Organizing, and his name, sad that I can't think of his name, but he said the right words said in the right way at the right time
Right.
can make all the difference in the
Yes.
world. And so
Yes.
for me, the right words in the right way at the right time made a difference in my life.
Right.
And also wrestling.
Mm.
I discovered wrestling right in high school.
Right.
And just that exhilaration, that one-on-one, getting out on that mat, right? That competition. But if I want to wrestle, I needed to stay eligible.
Right.
And so that's what really, that hunger for that love for wrestling really helped me out also to stay on the right track. So we need to find things that interest our young men.
Right.
And now there's a lot with technology. There's a lot of things going on. We need to find out what motivates our children.
Right.
What motivates them, what they like to do, and we need to try to incorporate that into their lives.
Well, a lot of the social media and stuff is kind of like taking a big part because now when I ask kids, they want to be TikTok famous. It's like, wait, what happened to playing the piano, or what happened to actually using your voice? Like, even if it's just singing or something. What about getting out and really discovering your history?
Yeah.
And they like, nah, I don't want to do that. Like, wait, why? And it's like
they want to be influencers. They want to be influencers. Is that what they want to do?
Yes, and it's like, okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, are you gonna do it in the right way? Can you do it while you teaching your history? Something like that.
Yeah. And I know there's a lane for that.
Right.
I don't. I'm 66 years old, so I don't know a lot about the influencing and
Right.
TikToking and all that type of stuff. I just don't. I'm a Facebooker, and I'm trying to get
Right.
away from that as much
Me
as I
too.
want it. But yeah, I mean, with the technology and all that, it's wide open for our babies. But
Right.
as long as they're using it in a positive and productive way, that was one of the things at school that uh, you know, children with cell phones at early ages, so
Mm-hmm.
too early,
Right.
and no parental supervision, and just using it for the wrong reasons. And now you got kids coming to school wanting to fight and
Yes.
get at each other and tear down the school because of these little social groups that they're in when they get home and all this stuff that they're saying to each other, and then coming to
Right.
school and wanting to act it out. But if
Right.
it's used in a positive, productive way, yeah, go for it. Because
Right.
I mean, it's kind of like before this social media stuff. If you ask most of the boys, they wanted to be basketball
Yep.
players or football players or
Yep.
baseball players. And, the young ladies wanted to be singers and
Yep.
dancers and,
Yep.
things like that. But we know only a small percentage will make it,
Right.
so you got to have a backup plan,
Yes.
something realistic. I tell people all the time, my son's in school now, and I say, go to school for something that that you're gonna be hireable in when you come out of school, right?
Right.
I knew when I started going to school for my undergrad in education, I knew that when I graduated, I was going to be able to get a job teaching.
Right.
So make sure that whatever you're going to school for, whether it's a trade school or
Mhm.
whatever, make sure it's something that you're going to be employable in. That there's a need for.
Exactly. So, what role does forgiveness or understanding play in moving forward as far as no more lost voices?
Yeah, it's big. It's big. I think forgiveness, and I don't want to go back and I don't want to start quoting scripture, but what's the first commandment? The first commandment now is God says love God with all your might, with all your heart, with all your soul, right?
Right.
And the second is to love our neighbor.
Right.
And a part of that loving is being able to forgive. God forgave us, I mean, we're all sinners, right?
Right.
And we want to be forgiven,
Right.
but it's hard for us to turn around and be forgiven of others, right? And
Yep.
that's a big piece. I remember as an adult, something that really turned my life around and saved me. Friend of mine's a female
Okay.
that I was stationed with in Virginia, and we wound up being stationed together, and not together, but we were both stationed in Korea at the same time. And she gave me a book by T.D. Jakes, and the title of the book was "So You Call Yourself a Man," right? And I was like, "Oh, okay. So what is she saying to me, right?" And I started to read the book,
Right.
and uh, one passage in there talked about how we as black men are kings, right? We are kings.
Right.
And then it talked about the tricks that the devil will play to knock you down, right?
Yes.
And so you've always got these, you're always out there and you're always battling against
Yep.
the devil, right?
Yep.
And he talked about once you've defeated all of the devil's tricks, the devil got one more trick for you. You know what that trick? Do you know what that trick is?
Nah.
Your future. Your future.
Okay.
He's always going to pull your future up and say, "Oh, what about this and what about that? What about
Right.
this?" But what T.D. Jakes talked about was that God has already forgiven you for that, right? And every so often on Facebook, I always put a post, and what I say is, dead weight don't travel light.
It sure don't.
Dead weight don't travel light.
It sure don't.
And so, as my 20 years in the military, I was a war fighter. That was my job for 20
Right.
years, right? War fighter, train others to go to war. And so a lot of, we carry all our equipment on our back, everything you need to survive is on your back in this big
Right.
rucksack, and you carrying it around. And I kind of think about all of that weight on your back, right? And just taking a knife and just slashing the back of that
Right.
thing and letting all that
And let it go.
let it go,
Yep.
right? Let it go. It's not doing you no good.
Right.
Your past has no promise for your future.
Nope.
right?
Right.
And that's the same thing for forgiveness. The forgiveness is for you,
Yes.
right? The forgiveness
Yes.
is for you. You're holding on to something that somebody did to you, a grudge or whatever. You're holding yourself back.
Yes.
That's stress that you're putting on yourself, right?
Yes.
You have to forgive and just move on.
And move on. Let it go.
Yes.
So why is it so important for people, especially the younger generation, to use their voices right now?
Wow. I'm glad you asked that. I thought your daughter was going to be here. I thought your daughter was going to be with you. So remember last Saturday when I had that brief conversation with them, your
Yep.
daughter, and who did you say the other young lady is, her friend or is that her
Her
cousin?
cousin.
Her cousin, right? And because we were talking about voting, right?
Yes.
And we were talking about voting, and so they were asking the young folks questions about voting. I just was at
Yep.
the Running Rebels. We're having intergenerational, which we do almost every Saturday. We have our intergenerational gatherings where we have young folks there, with some older folks, and we just talk about different issues. And so
Right.
last Saturday we were talking about voting, and so they were asking some of the younger folks things, and they're real shy,
Right.
they're not saying anything, but we know that they have voices, and we know that there
Yes.
are things that they care about and things that they're concerned about and things that they want to see change, but they're just too shy sometimes to
Right.
talk about them, right?
Right.
And so remember you were there back there with your daughter and cousin. I said, you all speak up, let people know. You remember that? And I
Yes,
said,
I do.
speak up, let people know, what's on your mind. Tell them
Yeah.
what you want out of life, and things where you want to see changes, right?
Right.
And so we need to teach our children how to use their voices,
Right.
because you know what, this world is going to belong to them.
Yes.
It's going to belong to them, right?
Yes.
And so I remember we were talking about voting, and I talked about the three branches of government: legislative, uh, uh, judicial, and executive branches, right? We
Right.
talked about, I know we got a Supreme Court race coming up in November for Wisconsin. And I was like, this thing about these three equal branches of government is a lie, because I talked about the executive branch and the legislative branch, and when they can't agree on something, where does it go? It goes to the Supreme Court to make that decision, right?
Right.
And so I was like, hey, young folks, you all need to learn about, civics.
Right.
You need to learn about your government,
Yeah.
learn about it, get involved, speak up, have a voice, because the future belongs to you all.
It does.
Right?
It
and
really
you
does.
and you have to get involved. Yeah.
So what are some ways that they can stay, not even just the youth, but just us as a whole, a community, a safe way that we can powerfully speak out against the violence, against the way? And I know Black Men Organization, you guys is getting this together, and that's another way. What about the youth, and what about the women?
So I think we got a lot of powerful women in the
Right.
city doing some powerful things too, but I always go back to the men as the leaders, and we gotta speak up.
Right.
I mean, there's no change without action, and we need to let our voices be heard, and we need to let them be heard at City Hall,
Right.
at the State Department, federal level, but we need to be making noise. It's funny. I was telling gentlemen yesterday that when, I mean, I want to say even past the time when I was a child, but if somebody was shot, that was the first thing on the news that you heard about. Now, they're talking about the White House in the East Wing, and this, that, and the other. Then all of a sudden they get to, there was a shooting on such and such, and there was a shooting
Right.
there. It's not even front news now.
Right.
You know that. And so we need to get out and we need to demand better. We need to demand better. Like, how are all of these guns being funneled into the inner city? How are all these guns getting in the hands of our poor young Black boys? Where are they coming from? We need to start making some noise.
Right.
Right. We really do. We need to start standing up. We need to start demanding better from our elected officials. Like, my alder person. Only time I see my alder person is when it's time for voting. I was about busting people out. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do.
Right.
But I was a principal at Samuel Clemens, the alder person over there Samuel Clemens is on 36 and Hope.
Okay.
I saw the alder person back in, I believe, I want to say 2017. Now, remember, I'm the principal of a school, the biggest,
Right.
the most expensive property in the neighborhood, right?
Mhm.
I saw the alder person doing, we had an Arbor Day event where we planted some trees with the city.
Right.
I saw the alder person that day. Since that time until the time I retired 7 years later, never saw the alder person again.
Wow.
You know, so what are they really doing?
Right.
You know, we're electing them to make sure that the city's safe for one
Right.
thing, you know, make improvements in the community. But you know, you see, and I don't want to speak for all of them, but my experience, like
Right.
where I live at right now, I haven't seen my alder person. My alder person hasn't knocked on my door, rang my doorbell since election time. You know,
Wow.
so how are they finding out what we as
Really
a
need to be
community,
done.
as a people, need to get done, and what are our top concerns?
Right.
You know,
Right. Because it started with us, and we in the community, and we know. So why they not asking us?
people
Mm,
come
mm,
around when they
mm.
want your vote, though.
Right. 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 So, how do you think storytelling or open dialogues can actually help rebuild and help us connect in a different way?
So storytelling, I think if you're telling the right stories, if you're telling the stories about our ancestors' struggles,
Right.
right? If you're telling, because that was another thing that we talked about. So Friday, Black Men Organizing, a couple of us went to Washington High School, and we met with some of the young Black men from the Black Latino Male Achievement Group. I mean, you talking about some exceptional boys of color. I want to say young men, but from 9th through 12th grade, right?
Right.
And just listening to them talk. And one of the young men had his pilot license already in high
Oh,
school. In
yes.
high school, but so uh how the gentleman that was here, his name is Sean Dove, was the gentleman that was here. He came from, and he was part of the Male Achievement Initiative that President Obama signed in the law.
Mm,
He was one of the big advocates for that.
right.
And he was there when President Obama signed it into the law.
Mm, mm,
But
mm.
until we know our history, and our history is told through storytelling, right?
Yes, definitely is.
Until we understand our history, we can't move forward
Right.
at, at and be whole,
Right.
right? And be a whole person until we understand our history. You know, I was telling them, and this may sound crazy to a lot of people, but I was like, this country owes us. This country owes us. And people look
Mhm.
at me like, what do you mean? Why does country owe us? And I said, because if a country can adopt laws to hold a race of people back,
Right.
because there were laws they created that stopped us from voting, redlining
Yep.
where we could live, in terms of what you could do as far as employment. There were laws created in this country
Mhm.
to hold Black people back, right?
Mm.
And then so at some point you had a civil rights bill where they removed these barriers. But because you remove these barriers, just remove them, and I say, okay, now you had a level playing field. It's not
Right.
a level playing field because we were already behind, right?
Mhm.
So what are you going to do now to repair that? Because
Right.
if you do something to me, I can take you to civil court, right, to be made whole. We have never been made whole.
Mm, mm, mm,
This country owes us.
mm,
And I
mm,
also
mm.
posed the question the other day, so because Black people were promised 40 acres and a mule. And I said, so what would 40 acres and a mule be worth today?
Mm.
And some people say, well, you know, they'll just go out and they'll just blow it. They'll buy a Mercedes Benz. They'll buy a Cadillac. So what? What they do with that money is on
It's them.
is on them, right?
Right.
I would like to see it more going to our young kids in the forms of college scholarships,
Right.
right? But this country owes us.
Mm, mm, mm. So, you think they're gonna ever pay us?
Yeah, I do. But it takes us all standing together as a whole, right? And the reason I thought about that is because one of the young men said, "No, I don't think this country owes us." And
Mm.
that's great. That's his opinion. And you want
Right.
to see
Right.
different opinions from people, you know. But
Exactly.
my opinion is that they do owe us,
Right.
right? But so many of our young people don't know the history of our people in this country since its inception, bringing us over to this country in slaves. We built this country,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so, but what were we given for that?
Mm.
I remember having a professor when I was in undergrad for my degree in education. I had him for U.S. history, and when we got to when we got to slavery, he said slavery was bad. However, and I was like, I ain't know however. It's just straight up slavery was bad.
Right.
But what he said was slavery was bad. However, slavery would have naturally died out because it cost too much to keep a slave.
Right.
Right. To clothe them, to house them, to feed them. That's garbage.
Right.
You know. And also the slave masters' plan was to take slavery as far west as the land could take them. Because during that time we didn't know how far west this country really could go. Right. And so slavery wasn't a plan of it's going to end here. You know, this was something. Slavery was a money making proposition. Right. And so it wasn't going to end there. But for him to say that slavery was going to naturally end because our ancestors cost too much to clothe, feed, and house. And so we need to know our history.
Exactly.
And if that don't fire you up and get a fire in your belly, you know?
Right. So what do you say to someone who feels that their voice do not matter and they're not able to make a difference?
We have to convince them that their voice does matter. Every voice matters. One voice matters, then you come together with 2, 3, 4, you know what I'm saying, until you get that powerful roar.
Right.
Of a lot of people coming together. But as I said before, Pastor Lanier said, if you go in there as an individual, you have a voice,
right?
But you're more likely to be picked off. But your voice matters, but it matters more when we come collectively.
So we talking about coming together. So with the community and the unity, right? What does that really? What does unity really look like when it comes together and start to prevent the violence and creating more peace?
Yeah, great question. I say first unity in voice, but more than anything, unity in voting. I remember the young man last Saturday also talked about he didn't vote.
Yep.
He said he didn't vote. He didn't want to vote for Kamala Harris because of some stuff that he heard. But look at the condition that we're in right now, right? I mean, you know, right now, federal workers are being laid off. Federal workers are losing their job.
Right.
People are still being forced. How can you force somebody to work and they're not getting paid?
Exactly.
Right. And now they're talking about taking SNAP benefits away starting November 1st. Right.
Right.
That's because people did not get out and vote. Right.
Yep.
It's almost like you have some people that vote against their best interest, and then you got some people that don't vote and it's against their best interest not to vote. Right.
Either way.
And so we gotta realize our best options, right? And somebody talked about voting. You got choosing one evil against another evil. And sometimes that might be the reality,
right?
Sometimes that might be the reality, but you know, our collective voices in voting is important. Is very important.
So how can the community leaders, parents, and the youth work together to make this change?
Get involved. Get involved. And I go back and I talk about my experience as an educator and open house, you know, not a lot of parents showing up.
Right.
You know, parent teacher conferences, not a lot of parents showing up. Got to get involved. You got to get engaged. The most important thing that you can give your child now is your time. And the most important thing for our children is an education.
Right. So do you think You think if more parents was able to give their kids more time, that it will make a big difference?
Absolutely, absolutely. Spending time. I mean, traditions just have gone away. We used to sit at the dinner table and eat together.
Right.
As a family.
Right.
Even if my dad was at work because he worked second shift most of the time. Me, my brothers, my mom sitting at the kitchen table, eating dinner together, talking. Having
Right.
that family time together. Now it's like, you know, got the cell phones, you got the
Mm-hmm.
game,
Mm-hmm.
getting the plate, going somewhere, watching
Right.
TV. Just, we need that family time. We
Right.
need that time to check on each other, talk to each other,
Mm-hmm.
uh, talk about things going on in our lives, things going
Right.
on in the family, things going on in the community. Those conversations need to be held.
Right.
Uh, and even with like I go back to the school. I mean, if you're not if parents are not showing their kids through their actions that them receiving an education is important, what do you think the kids are going to think? Oh, this is not important.
It's not
It's
important.
not important,
Yep.
right? Everybody that has been successful that I know, it came from somebody teaching them.
Right.
Even if you're self-taught,
Yep.
even if you're self-taught, you read a book
Right.
that somebody wrote,
Right.
right?
Exactly. You still
You're
can.
getting that education
Yep.
from somewhere, even if you're a self-taught
Right.
person. But you have to you have to get an education.
Right.
If you're going to make yourself marketable, if you're going to be able to stand on your own 2 feet, you're going to be able to raise your family.
Mhm.
It's all about getting an education. Everybody's had a teacher.
Right.
And for the most part, I hope everybody has had a teacher that has made a difference in their life, just like I
Mm-hmm.
had Miss Connie and I had my draft and harassment coach, Mr. Crates.
Miss Washington,
Yeah.
baby, if you ever watch this, you made a difference in my life.
There you go. Yes, absolutely.
She was my fourth grade teacher. Yes.
Fourth grade
Fourth
teacher.
grade, yes. Yes. And I had Miss Sullivan in eighth grade. Yep. And then I had Mr. Reed, which was my high school principal.
Okay.
And I was in Oak Creek. Like I went to Oak Creek High School. It
Okay.
wasn't that many,
Yeah,
black
there.
people there.
Yeah.
But Mr. Reed, he was like a teacher or administrative at 1st,
Mhm.
and then he became the principal. So yes, thank you all. Y'all made a difference.
How did you wind up out at Oak Creek?
My dad actually wanted to try something different, so he actually took us out the hood and moved us to Oak Creek,
Okay.
and the hood was still in us. So we all just had to find different ways to like, was we gonna allow the hood to stay in us, or was we gonna actually do something and take advantage of the information that we was actually learning
Okay.
to do something different?
Okay.
And unfortunately, a lot of us didn't, but there are a lot of us that did, and I'm one of those.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. And you're doing some good things. I mean, I watch you. I see you showing up to the intergenerational meetings with your
Yes.
girls. You got 2 or 3 girls with you every
Yes.
time, and I'm just like, that's what we need to be doing.
Right.
Bring them someplace where they can learn something.
Yes.
Where they can be around positive people that have done things in their life,
Yes.
people that are still striving to do things, but at the same time that are reaching back,
Yes.
right, and pulling some youth with them.
Yes.
And showing them the way. That's the most important thing right there.
It is.
Yes.
And I didn't
So
do it in the beginning.
congratulations to
Thank
you.
you. And I'm gonna accept that because I did not do it
But
in
it's
the
never too
beginning.
late, though.
It's not. That's
It's
why
never
I'm out
too
here
late.
now.
Yes, absolutely. It's never
Like
too
I
late.
didn't know before, but
Yes.
now that I know, it's for me to actually allow myself to share it, allow myself to actually teach it to them, especially since I have the younger ones.
Yeah.
They always at my house. Why not give them
Right,
something else
right.
to do besides social media?
And they're in a safe space with
Exactly.
you.
Yes.
Yeah. Good.
Yep.
Wonderful.
So we getting ready to wrap this up, but before we do, what examples of love in action have you seen people doing when they truly, or when they are truly showing up?
Love in action. Hmm. I think doing what I see you doing.
Okay.
Right, bringing your
Right.
daughters along so that they can learn and they can see, they can hear
Right.
from successful people,
Right.
You know what success looks like, what success sounds like. The young men that we mentor, right?
Yeah.
Like Friday, I gave two of the young men my phone number and had never met them before,
Right.
right? And both of them were interested in the military, right? They were like, "So you retired from the military? I'm thinking about going in. I want to go talk to a recruiter, you know." And
Aw.
I was like, "Listen, take my number." And I
Right.
gave both these young men my number. I said, "Call me. You know, I will go down to the recruiting station with you. We can sit down and we
Aw.
can, you know." So just love in action. Love is an action word, right? It's a
Right.
verb. So
Mm-hmm.
your love is showed in action on what you do,
Right.
right? So uh just getting out and being there, being approachable, being accessible. That's what I think about when I think about love and how we show love through our actions.
Mm,
Through
mm,
our
mm.
actions.
That
Yes.
is powerful. So, healing, hope, and then the future vision, right? It's so many people that have this vision that the world is gonna be a better place. It's gonna do something. I mean, all of us, it's gonna take all of us, or at least the majority of us, to actually do something with ourselves so that we can join a team and actually do something with the rest of the world or community.
Yeah.
So we're talking about what gives you hope that our community can actually change.
So, and I go back to what happened at Washington High School on Friday, right?
Okay.
Sitting around in a circle with these black men and these 12 young men.
Right.
That gave me hope, right?
Mm, mm,
That
mm,
so that inspired me.
mm.
That really did, because we always hear the negative. We
Yes.
always see the negative. Now,
Mhm.
as a teacher, assistant principal, and principal, I come across these remarkable students every single day, right?
Right.
Well, I'm retired now, but before I
Right.
retired, I came across them every day, and I go visit the school from time to time, right?
Mm.
Like when they have a Black History program
Okay.
or something like that, I'll go and I'll attend, and the kids are the children are still crazy about me, right? Oh, Mr. Lawson, oh, they come and hugging me and all that, but seeing those young men on Friday that were part of the, I want to say it again, NPS Black and Latino Male Achievement, seeing
Mm.
these young men of color so articulate, right?
Right.
Voicing their aspirations, right? Voicing what they want to do with their lives, being transparent, opening up, right?
Right.
And just being so intelligent inspired me so much.
Oh.
Yes, it did.
Whew.
It gave me the will to continue to push forward,
Right.
with this black men organizing. It just gave me the will and the determination and the motivation to
Mm,
want to
mm,
continue to
mm.
try to make a difference.
Yes, shout out.
Yes.
It's just so touching. And I'm so, again, if I didn't say it in the beginning, so thankful that you were able to share some of your time with me and my audience, because a lot of people, they don't think that, or a lot of women, I want to say, think it's okay not to have the men around. Like it is if they're not doing anything, but them powerful men and those men that's stepping up to say, hey, we making a difference.
Yes.
It's so important to have them around, especially
Yes.
for the sons or,
Absolutely.
the younger cousins that's males. It's important because from my take on it, I think the youth kind of have a different outlook on life as far as women and men or mothers and fathers or pastors and preachers or mentors or guides or whatever you want to call it to be in a life. It's like they push them away
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm,
they don't want to receive it, and it's
mm-hmm.
like, well, wait, this is what's going to help us.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So let me say this. When I decided to go into teaching, right?
mhm,
Came back to Milwaukee after I retired from the military, and took some time off,
right,
just to get reacclimated to the city. And I didn't like a lot of the things that I was saying.
mhm,
The young men with the disrespect,
yes,
just with. And I was an older gentleman. I was 43 when I retired. I mean, I probably still look with like a baby,
yeah,
with little
you do
baby
look
faces,
good.
whatever. I'm just messing around, but we, I mean, there was never any, me as a young man, never disrespected, never disrespectful around an adult, knew my surroundings,
Right.
was never going to say anything out of order
Right.
around an adult. But, I saw these young men, they were just like, whatever. They didn't care who was
Mhm.
around, how they just acted the way they acted. Right.
Right.
And then I had a lot of people coming to me saying, man, we need more black men in education. And I was like, this is what I'm going to do because our black men need mentors. They need
Yes.
men in their lives,
Yes.
right? Right. But when I got into teaching, when I really got into it, you know what I discovered?
What was that?
That the girls need black men just as
They
much.
sure do. Yes, they sure do.
These girls need men in their lives just as much as the
Yes,
boys.
they do.
Yes,
Yes, they do.
they need their fathers.
They do.
So I would say, as a final message, what I would say, black men step up.
Mm, mm, mm.
Black men step up. One message that I told to the boys on Friday was something that Tupac said. I may not say it the right way. Don't make a baby if you can't take care of a baby. And I know I'm not saying it the way that he said it, but
you get the message.
Get the message. And I told these young men, they got their whole lives ahead of them,
Yep.
right? Make wise choices in life, right? If you can't raise a baby, don't make a baby.
Right.
That was one of the mistakes that I made. I don't want to say it's a mistake because I love my children to
Right.
death, but I wasn't prepared.
Right.
And that was one of the reasons I went into the military because I knew that was a way where I could take care of my children.
Right.
And marry their mom.
Mm.
But, black men, we need to step up.
So I just heard you speaking to the black men, right? If you could speak directly to the next generation, what is something that you will say to them? What is the message that you will give to them about love and strength?
I would say that it's all right to love.
Mm.
Love is free and love is powerful.
Yes.
it's free to love,
Yes.
right? And loving cures so many ills. It does. So love with all you have.
Right.
Love with all you have, right? And if somebody, and I used to tell people, I'm gonna give you my love.
Right.
And if you don't deserve it, then that's on you. That's
right.
Too bad for you. Right? Too bad for you. But I'm gonna love you. I'm gonna love everybody. I'm gonna show everybody love. And if you don't deserve that love, then that's a loss on you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I tell our kids and to seek out love and to love as much as you can. Love with all your heart, love with all your soul. Yes, love is the key.
It is.
Right? Like Marvin Gaye said, love over war any day.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And for me, if you learn to really love yourself and really honor yourself, you will be able to share with so many more people, because you will really understand what it really feels to have that real, genuine love.
So you're talking about self-love.
Yes.
That was a campaign with the running river. Self-love.
I always go back to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I always go back to self-love.
That is such a great point. Self-love.
It always starts with us, because if we're not able to love ourselves when other people come in to love us, then we won't know how to receive it.
That's right.
And it's like they're here to share.
Yeah.
You share, they share, then hey, we all can share.
You didn't need me. You didn't need me here. You didn't need me here.
I wanted to help you. Yes. And for you to share your story, because again, I know so many people that actually then lost people, especially to gun violence. And it's like they get to that point where they so down and they so depressed, and it's like, man, use that power, do something, speak out so that other people can get the message and we all can link together. Because like you said, you could do it alone and go through it faster, but the team is so much more. It's so much more powerful.
Yeah. Milwaukee, let's love on each other.
Yes.
Let's love on each other, Milwaukee.
Yes. And last question, wrapping it up before we actually leave. What does the world look like for you, right? And feel like when there is no more lost voices. So if everybody speaked
Wow.
out,
Wow.
what would it look like and feel
Oh
like?
my God, it would be wonderful. I mean, as long as
Mm.
those voices are used in a productive way,
Yes,
right? As long as they're powerful, because the people are powerful. We're
yes,
powerful as one, right?
hmm
But it takes all of us standing together.
yes.
It takes all of us standing together to make a difference. So if all of those silent voices could be heard, you know, it opens up a world of opportunity for everybody,
Yes.
right? Yes, wonderful.
Mm.
So let's talk it up.
Yes.
Hey, let's get
Let's
those feelings. Even if you're just talking about your feelings and how you feel,
yes.
it's therapeutic,
Yes. It
right?
definitely is.
Yes, yes,
It definitely is.
yes. So Shavonda, I appreciate you. Thank you
You're
so
so
much. Thank you
welcome.
so much for inviting me.
Yes.
I had fun.
Yes. And I'm
Yes,
glad you did.
this was
Thank you.
therapeutic for me.
Look, we tapping into the mental health.
Yes, absolutely,
Yes, and that's what
absolutely.
love strength is all about. That's why again I name my show Love Strength Strength and Love, because again, you was brave enough and you had that courage to come in and share all of the strength that you didn't gather for yourself. And now you're sharing it with the world. You're doing it not just by yourself, but you got men that you didn't been with for since you were younger. You have men that you just met. You have the youth that is looking up to you. You
Yeah,
have black women like me that
yeah.
is so excited just to be like, man, that's so much power.
Yeah, Latrell, I posted about the Facebook, the podcast. I mean, and Latrell was like, "Go ahead, OG." So,
Yes, I talked to
yeah,
the OGs.
yeah, yeah. I
Yes.
tell people all the time I laugh. I'm 5'4", but I feel like I'm 7 feet tall. That's so crazy, but it's the truth.
It is. But for real, that's a good feeling to have. It feels just to be in the room with you. It just
Yeah.
feels so amazing. It's
Well,
like
thank you.
he's really a black man making a difference.
Thank you so much.
And he
I
can
try.
speak about it,
Yeah, thank you.
you know?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, yes.
Keep doing what you're doing, sister.
Oh, thank you. And I
Yeah,
sure will.
yeah, yeah.
All right, you all. With that being said, nope, nope, nope. We got to go ahead and let people know how they can tap into you and Black Man's Organizing, because we bringing them in as we can, as they come and they tap into us, we bringing them in. So tell everyone how they can tap
Yeah, so
into you.
we're on Facebook, Black Men Organizing. Just look us up, uh, and hopefully, for you men out there that are looking to be a part of an organization that can help move the needle and change the community, with that group. Again, Black Men Organizing.
Yes. All right, you all. There you have it, Mr. Gary Lawson. Thank you so much again for joining me. Thank you all for watching. Please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. Someone may need to hear this, okay? So if you know someone that is struggling through mental health issues, someone that just needs that mentor, that needs that guide, that needs that positive leader, tap in, you all. With that being said, talk to you later.